Australia nil, Japan 2. Australia, any faint hopes of Australia automatically qualifying for Qatar 2020 are now dashed. Japan put the final nail in the coffin on a very wet, rainy, miserable night at Sydney Football Stadium. I didn't watch the game, I will be honest. I didn't watch it live anyway. Because I was at the football, as I so gloriously said, Carlton are 2-0, which is great. But I was at the football, so I didn't catch it live. Caught a bit in various breaks of play and watched the majority of it. Watched the highlights and watched the majority of the match when I got home the following day. I want to speak about the match first, and then I want to speak about a man who I want to speak about, and we all know who I'm talking about. But the game itself, it was just a shit show. I mean, it was a must-win game for Australia, and Graham Arnold insisted on setting up in the most cowardice way possible. It was long ball to Duke, and hopefully something can happen. Or it's get the ball to her stitch, and hopefully you can cross it in. It was the most, like I said, cowardice way of setting up in a must-win game. It was a joke. Like, it was a joke. How like embarrassing that was on a national stage. And if it was a game where all we needed was a point or something like that, where we could afford to defend and we could afford to play a little bit more conservatively, then fine. I there is logic to setting up like that. But when you have to win the game, when there is no other option than 3 points, why do you set up like a coward? Why does he insist on setting up like we're playing fucking England or Spain or Germany or France? It's like, not that long ago, this Australia were going toe to toe with Japan. And Japan are probably the best side in Asia. South Korea as well, probably give them a good run for their money. But historically, Japan, South Korea, and then like Iran as well, who do pretty well, and Saudi Arabia on occasion, right? This Australia team used to go toe to toe with Japan and really play them off the park, and maybe with Saudi Arabia. I mean, we beat Saudi Arabia. Not Saudi Arabia, South Korea, right? We Asian Cup 2015. We lost to them in the group stage, but we probably should have won, and we beat them in the final. Same goes with Japan. We've beaten them and we've gone toe to toe with them before. Yeah, for whatever reason, Graham Arnold was like, no, we're gonna play this very conservative. It was almost a four. It was set up as a 4-3-3, but it was really a 4-4-2, if you can call it that. It was very just bland, and it was bland. It was boring. It was uninspiring. It set Australia up to fail before the game even started with the lineup. I mean, how how Mitchell Duke starts when you called up Fornaroli for a must-win game. That was the logic behind calling up Fornaroli, wasn't it? Well, that's what the logic seemed to me, was call him up for these two games, maybe even for the World Cup, but he's a proven goal scorer. He'll get you results and he'll score you goals. And you don't start him in one of the biggest games in Australian football history. I mean, you start Ryan Grant and Joel King, which, I mean, okay, whatever. Stensnes. I don't even know Yanni Stensnes. I mean, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. He played okay. He was set up to fail, really. And then Metcalf played as well alongside him, who got subbed off at half time. The glaring omission of either Jamie McLaren or Bruno Fornaroli or Jimmy Jago or Craig Itch or Janaru or Fornaroli or not even D'Agostino being on the bench. Just someone who brings some life. Tilio, my God, why didn't you start Marco Tilio? Why don't you... If you oh my God, he gets me that. I was on the way to the football, right? To the footy. I checked the lineup on my phone, and I wanted to pull my head through the window of the car. I was so angry because he decides to experiment and set up like a fucking coward in the biggest game of Australian football history. Well, in modern history anyway. it's baffling to me. Baffling to me. And I spoke about it. I said the midfield I'd start in the 4-3-3 was Jago, Herstich and Jenner. None of them started. I mean, Herstich started, but he played on the wing or right side midfield. Like, what? Like, what? I don't get it. Like, I genuinely don't understand the logic. And I mean, speaking about the game itself, first half was pretty good, if you can call it that. It was okay. And then second half was just more of the same. Japan should have scored like 4 times, but they didn't. And then we went to open up the game. We bought. I think we did bring Fornaroli on. We did bring some attacking players on. But by then, Japan had figured us out. They knew what we were gonna do, and it was just this real slow, depressing end of what has been a underwhelming and abysmal World Cup qualification campaign. It was just absolutely appalling. It was disgraceful. It was fucking shit. Like, put it that way. And I can't believe I watched that game back on my on Thursday, not on Thursday, on Friday. I watched that game back and I wanted to slam my head through a fuck. Like, it got me so angry, but it is what it is. I mean, now the what is it? The scenario for Australia is obviously with Saudi Arabia on Wednesday, I think it is, and this episode was meant to be a very intense preview of the Saudi Arabia game because we would have beaten Japan and we would have gone to Saudi Arabia with like fighting for our lives. No, I'm not even going to mention that game. I'm not even going to preview it because it's pointless. So we go to Saudi Arabia to play Dead Rubber, and then we verse either is it Iraq or what's it? Oh my god, the UAE. Which, let me just see who it is more likely going to be at this stage. It is going to be the UAE more than likely. If all they need to do is win, and they've got South Korea, so maybe not. Iraq, who do Iraq have? Iraq have Syria. So it might be Iraq. It could even be Lebanon. Oh, they're versing Iran, no worries. Alright, so it's probably going to be Iraq based off the fact that UAE versus South Korea and Iraq versus Syria and Lebanon versus Iran. So probably Iraq. I can't remember Australia versus Iraq in any games. I could be wrong. So that should be a fucking easy game in the biggest quotation marks you can ever imagine. That should be an easy game. And then if we win that versus the 5th place team in not in Uruguay, but in CONMEBOL. No, not in fucking. CONMEBOL. My head is completely gone. But in South America now. At this stage, it is going to be either, by the looks of things, Peru, Colombia, or Chile. It can't be Uruguay. So for that rematch of 2005 and 2005 and 2001. It can't be Uruguay. But Peru are currently sitting 5th on 21 points. Colombia in 6th on 20 points. And Chile in 7th on 19 points. Now, Peru versus Paraguay at home. So you think they'd get the job done there. Colombia versus Venezuela away. So you think they'd win as well. And Chile versus Uruguay at home. And Uruguay have already sealed up qualification. So at this stage, you think it'd be Peru. Who we don't want, I can tell you this for sure, we do not want Colombia. If we verse Colombia, we are not making it. I can tell you that for free. Chile are gettable. The very aging Chile squad, very systematic in the way they approach the game. So a player like Tilio or Mobile or McLaren, Herstich, these creative players can provide a spark in that game potentially. And Peru, obviously we are traumatised by Peru in the 2018 World Cup. It's a completely different Peru team. Or maybe not completely different, but it's a different Peru team, different enough for it to make a difference. Yeah, so Colombia is the one to avoid. If we verse, I'm telling you, if we verse Colombia, a Colombia team with James Rodriguez, Luis Diaz, we are going to lose and we're going to be embarrassed. I think the game is in Doha. We're going to get absolutely mauled. It's going to be shocking. But if so Chile or Peru, I'm leaning towards Peru for the revenge aspect of that game. Which, yeah. So for the revenge aspect of that game, I am leaning towards Peru. But I mean, Chile, I'll take. Colombia, we don't want, and Uruguay, we didn't want as well. So I'm happy they automatically qualified. So that is the Australia as a country side of things to one side. Let's speak about Graham Arnold. And I mean, we already spoke about him a little bit before, how he's set up in the most cowardly way possible, which I've already said. He has to be sacked. If it's not before the Saudi Arabia game, if it's not by the time this podcast comes live, if it's not after the Saudi Arabia game, he needs to be sacked. Like, you can't, like, his position as a Socceroos football coach is untenable. It is untenable. Look at what he's achieved in 2019 World Cup, 2019 Asian Cup, disaster, Olympics, disgraceful. Or yeah, like what even were his tournaments? Can't even remember because I kind of just tried to block Graham Arnold's history out from fucking the Socceroos because they're just it's the same thing every single time we fucking play. We go in the first round of qualification and we verse teams like fucking Taiwan and Mongolia and like with all due respect, teams that we are so much better than it's not even funny, and we win like 6-0 and everyone's lauding Graham Arnold. Oh, we won, what was it? We won 10 in a row. We won all 10 games in the first round of qualification. That means fuck all. And we've seen it now. That literally means fuck all. It literally means absolutely nothing. So like he became so let's look at Graham Arnold's history as Australian manager, shall we? In 2006 he was appointed interim coach and Australia lost in the Asian Cup qualifying to Kuwait 2-0. Good start. So, I mean, for some reason, the FFA were like, yeah, we'll give him the job for the 2007 Asian Cup. No worries. We drew to Oman in the opening game. Good. We lost to Iraq 3-1. Good. And we got beaten by Japan in the penalty shootout in the quarterfinals. Good. So we made the quarterfinals of the Asian Cup. Bearing in mind, this team was one year previous going toe-to-toe with Italy, who won the World Cup the year before, in 2006. Won the World Cup, and we lost because of a fucking dive in the 95th minute. Graham Arnold was like, yeah, I'm going to take this team and lose to Kuwait and draw to fucking Oman. Okay, whatever. That was 2007. He has time to learn. For whatever reason, after the 2018 World Cup, we were like, yeah, let's get him back. So what's he done? Let's go. So 2018, 2019, Asian Cup. Disaster. Absolute disaster. No other way to put it. Olympics. Appalling. Losing to Egypt 2-0 in the final game. Should not be happening. If we're a serious footballing nation, should not be happening. I don't care if we beat Argentina. Should not be happening. And the World Cup qualification. Abysmal once again. So yeah, 2019 Asian Cup, a joke. Like 2019 Asian Cup, disgraceful. 2020 Olympics, underwhelming. 2021 World Cup qualification, abysmal once again. Untenable. His position is untenable, and there's no other way to put it. If you are out there defending Graham Arnold, get checked. And I am talking to you, Robbie Slater. And for those who didn't see, Robbie Slater put out an article in some newspaper which no one reads, not defending Graham Arnold, but not explicitly calling for his sacking either. It's a boys' club which, like, the top of Australian football is rotten. Like, it is rotten to the core. It's a boys' club from the very top, and we can't do anything to change it. It's going to be the same people calling the shots. It's going to be the same people criticising the shots, and it's going to be the same regime over and over and over again until something changes. Graham Arnold needs to be sacked immediately from the Socceroos head coach role, and if he could take all the board members from Football Australia with him, that'd be great, because he is so not fit to coach the Socceroos. It is unbelievable, and we get it. He did well with Central Coast, and he did well with Sydney. Congrats, mate. But it's the fucking A-League. It's the A-League. There's been one good coach to come from the A-League, and that's Ange. With all due respect to Muscat and to all these other guys, like Popper as well. Popper went overseas and failed. There's been one coach in 15 years. One homegrown coach in more than 15 years. 05 was it? The last year. Well, 05, so 17 years. One homegrown coach to actually be successful outside of this country. And that's Ange. And Ange released an interview. Did an interview with Mark Schwarzer for Opta Sport saying he doesn't feel respected in this country. How ashamed must we have to feel? This is one of our best footballing exports in general. You look at Viduka, you look at Kuehl, you look at Bresciano, you look at fucking Tim Cahill. Great players. Ange Postecoglou, as a footballing export from this country, is right up there. He's transformed Celtic into the best team in Scotland. Yes, I know it's not a very high bar. I understand that, but watch Celtic play. They play some of the fucking best football I've seen. Like, it is unreal how they play. He will go to England. He'll manage a top 6 club, no doubt. He will win a big trophy. Like, he's so good, and he doesn't feel respected from this country. How ashamed must we feel? It's a joke, absolute joke. And again, the fish rots from the head. You cannot defend this, not even this coach, but this regime any longer. It needs to change. And does it start with the changing of a head coach? Yes, it does, but it transcends that. There needs to be a holistic view on football in this country, and just revamp it from scratch. It has to be from scratch, because the league's not good enough. The domestic league isn't good enough. The domestic cup isn't taken seriously by most people, and the national team's a disgrace. Yet we have players like Hurstich, Janaru, Jackson Irvine, these players who are going overseas and are killing it. And you have to look at like Kragic, who hasn't even stepped foot in this country. He hasn't played football in this country, I don't think, at any level. And yet he's killing it overseas. And then you have the likes of Christian Volpato, who I know released that stupid Snapchat, which he shouldn't have done, but he's a fucking kid, right? Cut him some slack. He's 19 years old. He just got capped by Italy under 23s. I'm pretty sure if that happened to to any person in the world, their ego would just be inflated just a little bit. But you look at him, he got released from Sydney, both Sydney clubs, and from pretty much New South Wales football as a whole. And he's playing for Italy's under 23s. I think it's under 23s anyway. What's wrong with football in this country? I don't get it. We have 23 million people. Croatia have 3 million people in the country. We have more people in the state of Victoria. And yet they're making World Cups. They've got some of the best players in the world. Why? Why can't we be this footballing powerhouse? Why can't we do it? Like, is it dare I say racism? Because, I mean, you look at football pre-2005 steeped in racism even before it. Like, dare I say, is it that? Is it because it's a foreign game. Sorry, I'm just looking something up. Okay. Yeah, Croatia population. 4 million people. There's literally more people in the state that I fucking live in than in the country of Croatia. And they made the World Cup. Made the World Cup final even. Yeah, like, dare I say, is it racism? Like, is this I'm trying hard not to fucking blow my lid, right? But is this just a systematic, just dysfunctional football system from top to bottom? There has to be a root cause to this. Is it because it's a foreign game that it's not taken seriously by Football Australia itself? It's not taken seriously by the government. It's not taken seriously, and it's not given the funding that it deserves. Because we host the Women's World Cup next year. We're so lucky the Matildas are like semi-good, by the way. We are so lucky the Matildas have their shit together. And they're not even elite. They're not even the best country. They're not even like one of the... Are they top 5 in the world? Maybe not. Probably not. But they're still very good. I mean, we've got Sam Kerr, who's one of the best players in the world. Right? I mean, they did well at the Olympics. They did well. We're so lucky we have the World Cup next year for them. Because I so hope there is hundreds of thousands of people coming to this country to watch it, and then they'll kick fucking Football Australia's ass at the gear and think, oh shit, there's actually a future in this sport. Let's give it the funding it deserves. And it starts from a grassroots level. I want to make that first and foremost. It starts from a grassroots level. $1,000, $2,000 to fucking play for Northcote City, or whatever it is. You have to pay. You have to fucking remortgage your house to play for Bulleen Lions. What is this paying to play football? What is this? That is the dumbest fucking thing I think I've ever heard. Go to every country in Europe. Yeah, alright, you might have to pay because it's a business expense. Business transaction, sorry. Fine. Not like 4 digits. A couple of $100, $200 to put your kid in a team. Fine, because I understand you need to pay rego. That's fine. But not $2,000 or $1,000 or these ridiculous sums of money. And there's it's actually cheaper to go overseas. It's actually cheaper to go overseas. This country is so far behind in development of football. It is shocking. And you look at that golden generation. You look at the golden generation from 2006. Newsflash: half of them weren't fucking Australian. Half of them were wogs. Like the man who scored, like Mark Bresciano, like the man who scored the goal, like obviously John always scored the penalty, right? But the man who scored the goal to equalise against Uruguay, fucking Italian, right? He's Italian. He's not Australian. He's Italian. So maybe that golden generation gave this country a false sense of security. But like, I don't even know, man, because it's like, again, it starts from a grassroots level, and it has to change systematically. It has to change because we're slowly losing people to the game. We're losing kids to go and play footy, rugby, cricket. We're losing. We never had them. 05 hit. We made the World Cup. Made the fucking, what is it? Made the A-League. We got that younger generation. We had them, and now we're slowly losing them again. If Australia, like, I was born in 04, right? If Australia didn't make the World Cup and the A-League wasn't a thing, I wouldn't be playing soccer. Or I wouldn't have played soccer for my whole, from like since I was 6 till like 16. Like I'm just so, angry at the state of football in this country. It's a joke, and it needs to change. And I kind of moved away from what I was initially going to speak about, but Graham Arnold, right? That was my little rant on football in this country because it needs to change, and it's fucking shit. Football, okay, yeah. So Graham Arnold needs to be sacked. What I was initially going to speak about is who are the next candidates for the Socceroos managerial gig. Now, it's a poison chalice, it seems like, because every Australian that comes in seems to not be able to do the fucking job properly. Ange was our last good one. Before that, it was a shit show. And our only good coach ever is like Gus, and he was Dutch, right? So I've got a list of, how many do I have here? Eight people. I've got 8 people here. I've got 4 who are pipe dreams. I've got 3 who are probably going to get it. And I've got 1 which is my absolute dream. Like, okay. And I think for those who know me and for those who listened to the podcast before and read my article on Stats Insider, you'll know who that final person is, but I'll get to him later. So the 3 which are probably going to get it is Tony Popovich, Patrick Kisnorbo and Kevin Muscat. They're the 3 who are probably going to get it. And it's because Football Australia has this fascination of, oh, we've got so much good local talent. Fuck that local talent, right? Get the best person. Just get the best guy. Because we're desperate. We're not in a position to pick and choose. We're literally on our knees and we just need to grab anything and we need to grab the best thing. These 3, while they're all good managers and they all have achieved good things in their own rights, aren't personally Socceroos. If we want to be a good footballing nation, these 3 can't manage. Either of these 3 can't manage the Socceroos. But I digress. If I had to pick, I would go with Popper, but I also wouldn't mind seeing Muscat. Kisnorbo, I don't know. I mean, Kisnorbo hasn't really. He's done very well with City. Very well with City, and he's blooded the youth. Obviously, Tilio and the like have, Nathaniel Atkinson as well, who's playing at Hearts now. Yeah, Kisnorbo actually wouldn't be bad because he knows how to fucking coach, and he knows how to blood the youth, which is good. But if I had to gun to my head, I'd actually think I'd say Muscat. I don't know. Either of those 3 are all in a very, very similar position in terms of why they should get the coach's gig anyway. Now the next 4 are pipe dreams who, if we get them, I will like just explode in happiness. Andre Villas-Boas, Mark Van Bommel, Sam Allardyce, and Joachim Low. Now, Joachim Low, probably never going to happen. I think we can say that. Andre Villas-Boas, out of a job at the moment. Like all these 3 managers are out of a job at the moment. He would... people give him shit. I think a little bit for what he did at various England clubs. And yeah, he's not necessarily the best manager by any stretch. And he obviously did get sacked by Chelsea and the like, but think about it. He's managed at Chelsea, Tottenham, Marseille. These garden clubs, like really good clubs. Chelsea and Marseille, good clubs. Tottenham, not so much. But, yeah, so he would obviously be unreal. Mark Van Bommel obviously was once an Australian coach. He was the assistant coach to Bert van Marwijk in the 2018 World Cup, so he already has a little bit of an understanding of Australian football. He could come in and really change things. I wouldn't be against that by any stretch. And then obviously Big Sam Allardyce. Now, people make fun of Sam Allardyce and give him shit and really underestimate his ability as a football coach and as a football person. He's an innovator in football. He was one of the first, especially English managers, to really introduce sports science and data analytics and looking at stats, looking at patterns, and looking at maths. Like looking at maths and trying to figure out what's the best system, what's the best tactic, who should play a right back, what passing pattern should we play against this team based on their pressing patterns and etc. He's very underrated, Sam Allardyce, very underrated, and he knows how to get results. And I think at this stage we just need someone to get results, and he's also very influential. So he will come in and change the ship. He'll turn it around and be like, no, this is fucked. I'm fixing it. So I want to be against him. And obviously the man who usually lives in my head rent-free, Marcelo Bielsa. He is, I cannot stress this enough, he's the absolute perfect man for the job. Like, I cannot stress this enough. In my head, there is no candidate in the world who can beat him. Obviously, having Pep would be great, but any available and reasonable candidate, just please do something right, Football Australia. Just get him. And if you obviously, I want to preface this. If you make an offer and he says no, fuck off, then fine, fair enough. You can't do a lot about that. But throw the kitchen sink at him. Just throw it, please. He's a revolutionary manager. Revolutionary. He will change football in this country. I can guarantee that. If you throw the kitchen sink at him and he says no, piss off, then fine, fair enough. You can't do a lot about that. I understand. But, why can't we just, go hell for leather for this guy? Because he is exactly what we need. Exactly what we need. He's influential. He's unbelievable tactical understanding. Has experience on the international stage. Has expressed interest in coaching this country before. That's the most important thing. He can set foundations. He can change the fortunes of Australian football. He sets good precedents with his what was it, that murder ball type thing? Maybe not that, but his high intensity, high tempo, pressing style of game will set us good for whatever manager comes after him. I can guarantee that. He's the man, without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm obviously open to suggestions and to have my opinion challenged, but Marcelo Bielsa is the man to coach Socceroos. I cannot stress this enough. He's the perfect candidate, and it's not even close. He has experience on the international stage. He can transform the fortunes of this country. He's so influential, he's so revolutionary that he will change this country's footballing outlook completely. He will do everything and more to get us to where we want to be, to get us to where we thought we'd be this time in 2005. There's no other man for the job, and it's not even close. That's my 2 cents. Yeah, so I think we're done for fucking speaking about Australia, because my head's going to explode if I have to speak about this footballing country ever again. Not ever again, but just for now. Now,